Welcome back to Boring Build Friday. We're once again working on our 2015 Toyota Rav4. It's time to get it all finished up and back on the road. Link's up there if you don't know what Rav4 I'm talking about. Let's get started. So before we can put it back together, the first thing we have to do is take it further apart. We got to pull this seat out so we can clean underneath it, because I don't want any more death threats from the clean freaks after last week's video. So we'll unbolt the rear of the seat, fold the seat up, pull the caps off the front. Now we can unbolt the front of the seat. Fold it back down. And now it fits through the door a little easier. So we'll let the cleaning gnome come clean it up. And while he's there, we'll install this quarter trim. Plug in the cigarette lighter. We'll use our bumper installation tool to install this quarter panel trim. Bolt in the bottom of the seat belt. And the cargo hook. Bolt in the other cargo hook. Then there's a couple hidden bolts where the cargo cover goes, so we'll put the bolts in there. And now we put our seats back in over our nice clean carpeting. Put the driver's side in first, even though we took it out first, just to find out it was backwards. Passenger side actually goes in first. Doesn't really matter, but because those feet are a little wider, it's easier to put the passenger side in first. I just picked the bigger seat and get it out of the way. So we'll start our bolts. I know I usually show just running them in, but I do always put them in and spin them in a couple threads, because running them in with the impact leads to cross threading. And although that is good for locking them in place so that they never come back out, poor man's Loctite, it can tend to set you back a little bit. So I always start them a few threads before I run them in. But if you want to just run them home with the impact, be my guest. So we'll fold the seats back up. Now we get to the bolts across the front. Put our little plastic caps on there. There's that bumper installation tool again. It's almost as useful as the air chisel. So now you put the trim on the inside of the rear body panel. The bottom has some tabs that slide into some slots. Push it down, and then just clip it in. Pull the gasket out, because it tends to get folded underneath. And now we can put our little tray in there. Just snaps in with a couple clips. And it's got 4 screws, one in each corner. We put our styrofoam under the spare tire in. Little cubby goes in there. Just snaps in. It's got a little push pin on the bottom, and then one up on the top. There's a little tray that goes on the side. We can put our spare in. Put the retainer in for the spare. Screw it down. Torque it down to manufacturer's specs. Use the proper tightening sequence. Tighten it down. Give it a little shake. And go 2 more turns. Click. I put our spare tire cover in. Slides into place. Pushes down. Fold up our seats. Alright, the sill plate inside the left rear door. Put in its tabs. Snap it in. When I had the dash out to do the AC doors, I didn't put a cabin air filter in it, even though I knew I needed it. And the reason I waited was they were going to put a windshield in, and a lot of times when they pull the glass out, all the leaves and debris that are stuck underneath the cowl end up falling down inside the heater box and landing on top of the cabin air filter. So if I put a new one in, it would just be on top of our new filter. So I left the old one in, let everything collect on it, then take it out.
In the pile.
It doesn't take that much time to change it, so here we are. So you just drop the glove box down, pull the little strut off, disengage the tabs by pushing in on the side of the glove box, and rotate it all the way down. Once that's out of the way, just reach in, press the little tab on the door, and open up the door. Now you can slide the filter out, make sure the airflow is going in the right direction. It's about the only way you can go wrong in this job. Slide the door back into its tab, clip it in. Slide the bottom of the glove box back in its tabs, rotate it up, till you can engage a little strut, clip that in, and close it up. People ask if I read manuals to know how to do all this stuff, and the answer is no. Because I'd have to read all that, and in the time it took me to do that, I'm done. Fun fact, this air filter also fits a 2012 LFA. High performance. Now it's time to change the oil. I definitely need an oil change. And due to Toyota's engineering, this one's more exciting than a normal oil change. So we'll pull the drain plug out of the filter cover, install this special drain plug adapter, drain out the oil, and pop it back off. Now we'll install our special socket to get the cover off for the filter, because Toyota. Spin the cover off. And now we'll change the cartridge. Just pulls off. Put our new one on. Now we gotta change our gasket. So just squeeze it and push it up until there's a little slack, and grab it and pull it off of there. Slide our new one on. No, this isn't a Fram filter. I know how much the internet hates those. So now we get to screw the filter assembly back up. Tighten it down. Click. Put the gasket back in for our little cap for our drain. It doesn't always have a gasket in there, and not all the kits come with it. I guess technically the little check valve in there should keep it from leaking. Tighten it down. Click. And put our oil plug back in. Tighten that down. Click. We'll go grab the 1-inch impact, snug all that stuff back up. Maybe grind off the head of the drain plug and weld it on, and then send it over to Jiffy Lube for a little revenge. And put some oil back in it. Since we spent so much time engineering that oil filter, we couldn't be bothered with finding an easy way to put oil into the car. Toyota loves to put a baffle right inside the oil cap, so you can't pour it in very fast. They've been doing it for years. They're still doing it. It's annoying. Stop it, Toyota. And some of them, you can kind of pour it in an angle and miss the baffle inside. Go a little faster. Fun fact on these Rav4s, if you're tall or you need to work way back in the back of the engine, or just want to make use of Toyota's over-engineering, these hoods open all the way up. They're pretty easy. Just lift it up. There's a little cap that goes in here. You can actually put it back in there. And you can always use that prop rod. Gives you lots of room in there. Brake job time. High performance. Guess we gotta do it the hard way.
Alright, we'll do the brakes like a caveman. We'll shorten it up a little bit, because I'm sure there's a million other videos you could watch if you want to learn how to do brake jobs on a Toyota Rav4. So pull the bolts out of the back of the caliper, compress the piston a little bit by pulling it. Break our bolts loose for our caliper bracket. And spin them out by hand, because this car didn't come from Illinois and you could still do that. Pull the rotor off. Install the new rotor and our caliper bracket. After we cleaned up the slides, lubed them all up. Slide our new brake pads in. Push the piston back in. And slide the caliper back on the bracket. Tighten the bolts down. Click. And now it's time to make our Fisher-Price plastic look a little more like new. So we'll use a propane torch, heat them up. Not enough to melt them, but you can see the color change. So we'll restore the plastic a little bit so that it matches our new pieces. And give it 6 months, and it'll all be chalky again. We'll put a little tire shine on it when we're all done. Make it last a little bit longer, but it's just what you deal with when you buy the Fisher-Price plastic cars. If you don't know what Fisher-Price is, well, then you're not as old as me. Is Fisher-Price still a thing? It was when I was a kid. So there's our Toyota. It's all done. It was a very easy job. Still don't understand why they totaled it. And no, it had nothing to do with the heater box. That was not part of the accident, so it wasn't included in the cost of repair. Had the shop actually fix it, they wouldn't have done that. They would just put the quarter on it, send it down the road. It does have one mismatched wheel cover, because the original wheel covers for this didn't have the Toyota emblem. The replacements I put on did. The reason for that is the newer ones have the Toyota emblems in it and the older ones don't. I'm not going to buy another one as I only had 3 of the newer ones. So someone's just got to live with no Toyota emblem or pay for it themselves. So our engine bay is all clean. And so is our interior. A vast improvement over what it was before. Of course, I've already managed to get the back seat dirty by throwing stuff in there. And Illinois is back on the ball. I can't say back on the ball. They've never been this efficient. So it's only been taking me 4 days to schedule a salvage inspection instead of the months it used to take. Of course, we're still waiting 6 to 8 weeks for a title, but baby steps, Illinois. Baby steps. I did get some all-weather mats with a cargo mat for this thing. Keep the floors somewhat clean. And maybe even kid-proof them, if that's possible. Alright, we all know what time it is. It's time for everyone's favorite game. What's in my console? So let's find out. No job is complete without the extra bolts. I'm gonna have quite a pile out there one day. What else is in here? We got some crackers. I'm not sure if I should eat these or crumple them up and throw them about the interior. I'll hang on to them till I decide. What else is in here? We got some pop. Soda. Coca-Cola. I know. We'll just pour this in the vent here. That's what you do with it, right? What else? We got a lock. A mystery lock. I wonder what's inside. Well, there's 10,000 combinations. 0001. 0002. I'm gonna be here a while. So I'll save this for later. Well, that looks like it.
So like this video if you found it interesting, share it if you think somebody else might. Subscribe to see if I ever get into my lock and what might be inside. Or maybe even some builds that I have coming up. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Oh, there is one more thing. It's a Mustang update.
So the plan of having the Mustang finished and out of this building so that I could store cars for the winter
0003
didn't quite pan out. So I came up with a new plan. Since everything has to be moved so I can store cars in here, I'm going to put the Mustang in the other room. The other room was actually built for restoring cars. Unfortunately, it's been filled with an Oldsmobile
0004.
that's been there for 14 years and hasn't been touched. So now we're going to put the Mustang in there, and hopefully it's not destined for the same fate. But we'll find out. At least if it's in there, there's a slight chance I'm going to work on it. If I leave it out here, I can't work on it. So let's move it over. So if you want to see all these cars, there is a video that shows all of them. It gives you a little background on them, except for the Oldsmobile, because I couldn't get to it. And this is why. It took me quite a while just to get that car out of there. But here it is. So we're going to turn it into a big rolling table. Fill up the tires on the skid steer. Now we'll take it outside. Move our Mustang parts out of the way. Unbury our terrain. And take it outside. I'll push the old Buick up. And start digging Mustang parts out of the corner. All parts that we're going to need when we start putting the front end on the car. We're going to stack them up on our new Oldsmobile shelf. And we'll move the Oldsmobile over. It's not a light car, so I enlisted the afternoon crew for the heavy lifting. All it cost me was a small bribe of chalk to roll in and some tires to flip. We'll move our mobile frame rack. Take the scaffold apart and put it up on the wall where it belongs, so it's not all over the shop. Get some more Mustang parts to move. Now we'll put the rest of the scaffold up. Sweep the floor and put our Oldsmobile shelf in the corner. Put our little portable lift underneath it. Bury it with some more Mustang parts. And roll the old Buick back. Sweep the floor and move our Mustang pallet. Now we can clean out the floor we haven't seen in 14 years. And now the Mustang is going to go find its new home. Gotta fill up this tire. And we'll push it back in there. There's plenty of room to walk around it and work. So now we're going to bring some of the parts we might need in there. We'll use our mobile frame rack to take our Mustang pile outside. It doesn't need to be spending time inside. Except for the front end, we'll hang on to that. Got one Riata, two Riatas. Got our GMC Terrain shelf in here, so we'll unbury that.
1398.
Take it back outside. Bring our skid steer in there. Oop, had a little gas spill. So we'll sweep some oil dry over it and dry it up. Then we'll sweep the oil dry in the back. The skid steer likes to mark its territory, so it needs an oil dry diaper.
1399.
Now the G8 goes away for the winter. And the Corvette.
1400.
So now I have room to work on the Mustang, and the cars are stored for the winter. Most of them. There's still a couple more to come back in. And the Grand Am's got to go. Maybe even the Terrain.
1401. This really can't be that entertaining. 1402. 1403. I'll keep you updated. See you later.